I'm proud to be a mum. I'm proud of many things, actually, but there's nothing I could be prouder of than being a mum. So if you ask the question, what makes me proud, it's because I have two daughters who I couldn't be more proud of. What does Black History Month mean to me? What's its importance? Well, I grew up knowing Florence Nightingale, but I'd never heard of Mary Seacole. So for me, it's an opportunity to learn about hidden Black history through a much more honest lens. And it creates awareness of Black history, and that Black history is part of all history, and that we should recognise and accept all history if we want a more inclusive society. I'm embarrassed to admit that I don't know much about Black history. In fact, I hated history growing up. Without recognising at the time, I think my disinterest in history was because I couldn't identify with anyone and I couldn't connect with it. I found it boring and I just switched off. So I can talk about my heritage. I'm of mixed heritage. My dad is from Grenada in the Caribbean, and my mum is from mainland Greece. Um, my parents came to the UK in the 60s. They experienced real overt racism at the time. And I can remember growing up, I kind of lacked a sense of belonging, really. I mean, my parents gave me the best childhood ever, if I could say, but I can remember being very confused about my identity. I mean, neither my mum or my dad really told me too much about their backgrounds. I mean, I learned about their backgrounds growing up, being part of it, especially my mum's, I think, because my mum would take me and my sister to Greece every year. I mean, my mum and dad have been married for 55 years now, still happily married. They're a lot older. They could probably give you a few stories, tell you a few stories. Um, but I mean, my story. I mean, I grew up as a biracial. I think we called now. Back in the day, I was a half caste, a term that's no longer used, thankfully. In the playground, I was called half breed by cruel bullies, as they were. No, power, I suppose. If you've got something, if you're different, there's always something you could be called. I can remember I had a happy childhood. I mean, it wasn't all doom and gloom, but I can remember as being of mixed race heritage. Going to Greece, being stared at because I was the first. I think I was the only Black person in my mum's village. I mean, people used to stare at me, and children used to touch me and then run away. And I used to ask my mum, why are people staring at me? My mum would comfort me by saying it was because I was beautiful, but it wasn't. It was really because I was Black and had big Afro hair that my mum didn't know how to comb, because every time she tried to comb it, the comb would break. And also because she allowed me to go in the seaside. We would go to the seaside, you see, and I'd be able to go in the water. But Afro hair, when you go in the water, it kind of like shrivels up and gets very knotty, and it's very difficult to comb. One of the first words that I learned in Greece was mavros, which means black. And the only reason I learned it was because it would be whispered all the time, and I didn't know what it meant. And my mum said it means black. Don't be afraid to engage in the conversation about Black history, and share your knowledge, with your friends, your family. Support and promote the decolonizing of the curriculum. As I said before, Black history is part of all history, and it needs to be, you know, learnt about. We need to talk about it, and we need to include it in our everyday life, and what we teach our young children, who are our future. And how do I hope to instill pride in peers and future generations? Well, by continuing to care about race equality and contribute to change, promoting the importance of education and learning about history, heritage, and culture, and making sure my children, their children, everyone's children, know their value and their worth, and are proud of who they are, whether they're white, black, Asian, Chinese, whatever. You know, we should all value ourselves and love ourselves for who we are.